Greetings audience, let's talk about the Smiley by Mighty Shrub.
Before we continue, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to make sure you see more videos just like this one. You can also support the channel on Patreon and be one of these amazing patrons with a special thank you to my pro patron, Nerf Nothing. And now, back to the video.
First, let me say that the hardware kit used in this blaster was sent to me by Out of Darts. However, I did print and assemble this myself, and the opinions I have on this blaster are my own. The Smiley is a bolt-action 3D printed Springer that utilizes Nightingale mags. You're able to quickly swap barrels thanks to the cullet on the front. You have two sections of Picatinny along the top, which are separated by the breech, which allows you to easily single load darts or clear jams. There's a nice little window in the magwell for players using translucent mags to be able to see how many darts they have left. And behind that, you have an ambidextrous mag release button. My current build utilizes a printed bolt arm, which could be concerning for some people. Luckily, there are several hobby shops that sell metal priming arms for the Smiley, including Out of Darts. The prime is smooth enough with the current spring setup I have in it. However, I could see the prime being uncomfortable at higher FPS levels. The grip is a bit beefy, however, it fits the style of the blaster, and I haven't found it to be uncomfortable yet. The stock is unfortunately fixed and a little short for me, but it fits the compact bolt-action Springer build well. The spring can be easily swapped thanks to the pin at the base of the grip, and there is a variety of springs to choose from for your Smiley build to give you whatever FPS you're looking for. The spring included in my hardware kit hits an average of around 160 FPS, and I find that to be a pretty good spot for the Smiley. The Smiley is probably the smallest 3D printed bolt action primary I've used, which could be a benefit to players wanting to be able to quickly move in and out of cover while pushing the objective. Printing is straightforward with written instructions for how to print each piece, and for those with AMS printing, you have a lot of options for adding extra color, if you don't mind spending the extra filament depending on your printer. Assembly is another matter entirely. I first want to say I don't like the hardware choices on the Smiley. I really feel like they could have gone with more of a hobby standard with some of these, at least for, and when I say hobby standard, I mean mostly Silly Butts, Captain Slug, that style hardware. I found this hardware a little bit difficult to work with in places, and I've already replaced some of the Imperial hardware kit with some metric pieces. Luckily, Out of Darts has an assembly video, but even with that, it's a lot of finagling to get it together with a few awkward fitting parts and some hard to reach screw holes. While it's not as hard as some other blasters could be, it's definitely not one I'd recommend for beginners. The Smiley is an open source blaster, which means you could print and source the hardware yourself if you want. However, you can also grab hardware, printed pieces, or fully assembled Smileys from multiple hobby shops. With all these options, it clearly deserves an A for availability. As far as price goes, there's a bunch of options. If you print it yourself, you'll only have to buy the hardware, which is only around $40 to $45. Build-it-yourself kits will run you around $140 to $160, with fully assembled blasters being around $200. Now, I do think with these options available to you, the Smiley does deserve another A for price. If you dislike the price, there's another one you can look at, and if you have a printer, this is a fairly cheap hardware kit. When it comes to compatibility, you have all the standard compatibilities you'd expect from a 3D printed blaster. You're able to use the barrels and springs you prefer to get the performance you desire out of the Smiley. The area where I think most may struggle is the mag compatibility. The Smiley utilizes Nightingale style mags, which while gaining more popularity thanks to blasters like the Venom, still might not be something many nerfers have in abundance. Now, there is a remix of the Smiley that allows you to use straight talons along with an abundance of other remixes available, which I highly recommend checking out. I grabbed a few remixes for my build, such as a skinny pusher designed by Machine Boy Zach, and the Silly Butts brassless breech, which is what most hobby shops are offering instead of the originally designed brass breech. There's also plenty of stock and aesthetic options for you to choose from. This is the benefit of open source blasters. With all these options, clearly the Smiley will take another A. And speaking of A's, it's time for some more Smiley praise as we talk about the aesthetics. Even without all the AMS printing on my build, the Smiley has a lot of little aesthetic details, which when combined with the blaster shape, give it a cool sci-fi feel. There's also little touches like the plunger window and the grip, the smiley face on the stock, which I find especially fun, and as you may have expected, the Smiley will be taking an A in aesthetics. Now you don't get a blaster this cool looking without some drawbacks, which brings us to accessibility. Now while your spring and barrel are easily removable, attempting to reach any other internal piece will require a lot more disassembly, which I definitely did not enjoy with this blaster. I would be tempted to give the Smiley a C for accessibility, but because you have an easy option for spring and barrel swaps, I will be giving it a B. Overall, I do like the Smiley. It's a fun yet competitive option for players wanting a bolt action feel without sacrificing on size. Before picking up on a metal bolt arm, I definitely want to see how long mine lasts. Obviously, I printed mine in silk filament, which is a bit of a no-no for heavy use parts, so we'll see how long it lasts. I also want to pick up some different springs to see how it performs at different FPS levels, but for that you'll have to wait until the field report, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. In the meantime, let me know what you think of the Smiley. Does the smaller size make it better or worse than the Kunlun in your opinion? How many events do you think my priming arm will last? Post your thoughts down in the comments below, and until next time, I've been Boomstick, and I'll see you on the field.